Imagine this. You're promised the job of a lifetime. 3 million Kenyan shillings. All you have to do is drive cars in Moscow. But when you arrive, there are no cars, only guns, only death. And within 1 week, everyone you arrived with is dead. Everyone. Except you. This is the true story of how one Kenyan man fooled an entire Russian military by pretending to lose his mind. November 2025, Duncan from Kiambu had a choice to make. Stay in Kenya with limited opportunities, or take a chance on what seemed like a dream job in Russia. The recruiters were smooth, professional. They promised him $23,000 to work as a driver in Moscow. $23,000 for driving cars. It was too good to be true. And it was. Duncan wasn't alone. 10 other Kenyans were selected for this opportunity. They boarded that plane with dreams in their hearts and promises ringing in their ears. None of them spoke Russian, none of them had military training, and none of them knew what was waiting for them. The moment they touched down in Moscow, everything changed. There were no luxury cars to drive, no hotel waiting rooms, no civilian jobs. Instead, there were military trucks, Russian officers, and documents written in a language they couldn't understand. Sign this, they were told. Sign, or you're not leaving. What choice did they have? They were thousands of miles from home, no money for a return ticket, no embassy contact, no way out. So they signed. They had just enlisted in the Russian military. They had just signed up for war. 1 month. That's all the training they got. 30 days to learn how to use assault rifles, operate tanks, avoid drones, and somehow stay alive in one of the deadliest conflicts of the 21st century. Duncan watched as his fellow Kenyans struggled to understand commands shouted in Russian. They were given gear that didn't fit, weapons they barely knew how to load, and a mission they never asked for. December 2025, after just 1 month, they were deployed. Welcome to the front line. The sound of artillery never stopped. The smell of smoke and death hung in the air like a toxic fog. Every minute, someone died. Every hour, the bodies piled higher. Duncan quickly realized something that made his blood run cold. This wasn't just dangerous. This was a death sentence. And then, it happened. 1 week. Just 7 days on the battlefield. One by one, his fellow Kenyans fell, shot by Ukrainian forces, killed by artillery, caught in crossfire. Within 1 week, all 10 of the men who had traveled with Duncan from Kenya were dead. Duncan was alone, surrounded by thousands of bodies, watching people die every single minute, and he knew with absolute certainty he was next. But Duncan was not ready to die. Not in a war he didn't believe in. Not in a country that wasn't his. Not for a lie, so he did something absolutely insane. Something so dangerous it could have gotten him executed on the spot. He decided to fake being crazy. On the battlefield, surrounded by Russian and Ukrainian forces, Duncan started firing his weapon aimlessly. Not at targets, just randomly, wildly. He rolled on the ground. He screamed incoherently. He acted like a man who had completely lost his grip on reality. His Russian commanders watched in horror. Was this PTSD? Had the war broken him? Had he snapped? His colleagues reported his behavior. He's gone mad, they said. He's lost it. And that's exactly what Duncan wanted them to think. He was evacuated from the front line, taken to a Russian military hospital, away from the bullets, away from the death. But he wasn't safe yet. Inside that military hospital, Duncan gave the performance of his lifetime. He had to convince doctors, psychiatrists, and military officials that he was genuinely mentally unstable. One slip-up, one moment of clarity, and they'd send him right back to die. Day after day, he maintained the act, confused, traumatized, broken. And then, He added another layer to his deception. He told them his entire family back in Kenya had died in a terrible accident. His mother, his father, his siblings, all gone. It was a complete lie, but it was believable. It was tragic. And most importantly, it gave him a reason to leave Russia. Eventually, they discharged him. But there was a problem. They assigned him a military escort, someone to watch him, to make sure he didn't run. Duncan was out of the hospital, but he was still trapped in Russia, still under military control, still in danger. He told his military escort that fellow Kenyans in Moscow had raised money for him, donations to help him after his family's death. The money was waiting for him. At the Kenyan embassy, the soldier believed him. Together, they walked to the Kenyan embassy. The moment Duncan stepped through those doors, everything changed. He immediately switched to Kiswahili and told the embassy staff everything: the lie, the war, the deaths, the danger. "Please," he begged, "help me escape from Russia." Outside, the Russian soldier waited. He had no idea what was happening inside. The embassy staff moved fast. They knew Duncan's life was on the line. They organized emergency travel documents. His family in Kenya sent money for a plane ticket. Duncan's military account had never been set up. The promised salary? It never existed. But his family came through. And on January 16, 2026, Duncan Chage boarded a plane and left Russia forever. When Duncan touched down in Kenya, he was home. He was safe. He was alive. But he wasn't quiet. He immediately started sharing his story, warning other Kenyans, exposing the recruitment scheme. "Do not believe these agents," he said. "There are no driver jobs. You may end up in a war you don't understand." Duncan was one of the lucky ones. Hundreds of other Kenyans have been trafficked to Russia under the same lies. Many are still there. Many are already dead. The recruitment continues. Russian-linked agents are still operating in Kenya, still promising good jobs, still sending people to die. But Duncan Chage refused to be a statistic. Through incredible courage, quick thinking, and an Oscar-worthy performance, he survived a war he never chose, escaped a country that wanted to use him as cannon fodder, and lived to tell the tale. His message is clear. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And sometimes the only way to survive is to pretend you've lost your mind. If you know anyone considering overseas work opportunities, especially in Russia, share this video. You might save their life. Subscribe for more incredible true stories. And remember, not all that glitters is gold.